Bonjour à tous et à toutes et bienvenue sur une nouvelle série de Chez Papy Maky avec un invité exceptionnel. Il s'agit bien évidemment de Frenzy, l'un des meilleurs joueurs européens et le meilleur joueur de Falco en Europe. Hi Frenzy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Mackenzie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, like I say in French, I say you are probably the best Falco in Europe, or you are the best Falco in Europe.
I
And
hope so.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. And you were one of the best European player.
Mhm.
It's crazy because people know you, but they don't know exactly your story.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, yeah, because we are the same. And when I say we are the same, it's how do you hear about Smash Bros? You know?
So, like, how did I get into it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how do you hear about Smash Bros? The game? You know, only the game.
Okay, well, I mean, I played Melee when I was super young, so like I'm 22 now. So I was born in 1999, and I played Melee like as a kid when I was like 6 or whatever, and it's always been my favorite game since I played that. Played Melee, Brawl, all the way up to Ultimate. Um, and yeah, I found out about the competitive scene because I really wanted to beat my friend, so I went online. I saw, Mewtwo King. Yeah, the rest is history from there.
Oh, so you mean like when you play Smash for the first time, you had already hear about competition?
Yeah. So I actually looked on. I don't know if it's still around, but Game FAQs was the site, and they had like loads of guides for like different characters. And I didn't really understand much of it at the time because I was like 8 years old or whatever. But yeah, then I think it was when I was playing Brawl. I saw like this must have been around like 2013, and I saw Mewtwo King, and I looked up some videos, and then that linked me to the Smash documentary, right? Which is where a lot of people from that sort of era got into Melee. Yeah.
It's crazy because you so we can say the competition, the world of Melee, the competition of Melee, take you and inspire and motive you, right?
Yeah, for sure. It was like the first like really competitive thing I'd done. And it just looked so cool. Like I saw all these people going to these events in different countries. And around that time as well, that was when we had like MLG happening and Evo and all of that stuff. So it was super exciting.
So I have a question because when you arrive in the community, you arrive very late in 2014, right?
Yeah.
So you arrive with Armada, with Mewtwo King, with Mango was here too. But have you heard about Ken, Isaiah, Aizen, etc., or that these all players didn't really interesting you at this moment?
Yeah, so like obviously I heard about them through the documentary, but I think when I was starting to like watch more, most of the players were on their way out. I think Ken was still playing was the main one because like when I started, like Ken and Mewtwo King were like my favorites from like the documentary and they were still playing. Because I actually started out playing Moth, so we've got a much different timeline where I'm playing Falcon now, But yeah, so I'd say it was mainly like the new school for the time sort of players, like the PPMDs, the Mangos, all those guys.
Yeah, the God era.
Yeah, for sure, the God era. I wasn't like around or that knowledgeable of like the time before then,
Yeah. It's funny. So you start the Melee competition in 2014. Do you remember your first tournament?
I do. I remember it pretty well, actually.
Yeah?
So it was in Nottingham in the UK, so that's like, it's in the Midlands, so like the middle of England.
Okay.
And I actually had my grandparents took me to it. They drove me there. And I was 14 at the time, I think. And we walk into this pub in the back room, and there's a load of Melee setups and a load of people. And they just sort of left me to my thing, honestly. I was a bit surprised, but yeah, I went, and back then they didn't have any of the like round robin
Uh,
stuff they do now.
Yeah.
And it was just straight double a limb. Like you lose two and you're out for the day, you know. And I actually won. I think I won my first set playing Martin Ganondorf, and then I lost to. I lost to like a Fox player, pretty technical Fox at the time.
Do you remember the name?
No, I don't. I don't. And then, you know, I go through losers a bit, and then I get to losers finals of my pool, and then I lose there. So I didn't make it through to the final bracket.
Do you remember who wins the tournaments?
I want to say either Jin or Wills. So Jin was like a Fox player from that era.
Okay.
And Wills, I think he still does like ultimate stuff now, but he occasionally plays melee, Falcon. But I'd say the thing that stuck out to me the most from that event was I was actually watching a Falco player called Alexis play while I was there, and I was like, damn, this is why I don't play Falco, because I could never be this technical, right? And at the time, they were doing like really basic stuff, but I was just like, yes, this is why I play Moth. And then, you know, here I am now 8 years later, and I'm probably one of the most technical Falcos like in the world.
Yeah,
it's funny.
A big way.
Yeah, for sure.
And after this first tournament, how was you feeling? How
I was like really excited to play more. And like this tournament was quite far away from where I was living. So I was living in Bristol at the time, and that's where I am now.
Yeah.
But this tournament in Nottingham was about 2 or 3 hours away. So I was like, the next thing I did was try to find a scene in like my home city, right, in Bristol. And then, you know, from there, I went to everything I could, like all the events near me. And I actually met a certain player who's in this call, who won't probably remember me from back then. But you went to a Bristol tournament in 2014.
Cool.
A young Mackenzie who played Professor Pro in grand finals.
It was where city?
In Bristol.
Bristol. Okay.
Bristol, yeah.
So I've been in Bristol, right?
Yeah, you were here. I think you might have traveled. You might have been in London at the time and then traveled or something. But I remember you played Prof Pro in grand finals, and I was like, damn, one day I'll be up there.
the young friends,
yeah, but
looking Professor Pro and Mackenzie playing.
Yeah, and I was a noob. Like I think I must have gone like 3 into, you know, like win 3 sets and then lose 2, and I was out. You know, maybe get like 25th or something. But yeah.
At this moment, what was your objective in Melee? Like, do you feel like I want improve, or I want be the best, or how was you feeling in the competition mind?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to be one of the best, like straight from the get-go. Like I watched the documentary, and then, you know, all this stuff like MLG and Evo and Summit and all of that stuff was happening, and I was like, yeah, I want to get up there, and, you know, travel and you know, eventually win one of these big tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I still haven't got to that point yet, but I think I'm pretty far like on my way there. You know, I've won quite a few European stuff and UK stuff. But yeah, no, my goal has always been to be one of the top players.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because, you know, players who start didn't like to put an objective so big. So
yeah.
They prefer, for example, to say, okay, first things, I want to be top 10 in my country. Then top 5 in the major, or maybe top 20 in your major tournaments, etc. You know.
Yeah.
But you was more like, okay, I won't be the best. That's all.
yeah, straight from the get-go. And of course, I had those things as like goals along the way, like get on the UK PR and then get to top 10 and then Europe and all of that. But I've always like played and practiced with the like, this thing I'm doing, I want it to beat Hungrybox, or I want it to beat Mango, or you know, like that's who I have in mind that I'm looking up to try and beat, more so than what's like around me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is funny because a lot of people get a bit scared and a bit shy to like aim that high, I think, like you said. But that's just always what's worked for me. Like, I like being ambitious.
Oh, okay, nice. So here we are in 2014, right? 2000 Frenzy,
Yeah.
2014. The objective was I won't be the best.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the first upset in your career of Melee?
I'd say like my big upset or breakout performance was actually beating BR Tarolg. Of course, BR Tarolg, but he was a Sheik player in the UK. He was around top 10 level at the time.
Yeah.
And I think this was in about end of 2015, maybe start of 2016. And I was playing Falco at this time.
Okay.
But yeah, that was like my first like, really good player win in the UK, and that was sort of the changing point for like, oh, okay, this guy is actually, pretty good and a threat. And I'd say that's my first upset, and then I'd say the point where I sort of like cemented myself as like a top 5 player was probably sometime in 2017, where there was a tournament where I beat like number like 6, 7, and 8 like back to back in the tournament, and that was the point where everybody was like, yeah, okay, this guy's top 5. And there's a names of like R23, Alpha Dash, and Death Gazer, who some of the older school players who are watching this will definitely know those people. Maybe not so much anymore, but back then they were the real deal,
Yeah, clearly. So it's interesting. So if we just back a little in 2015, I see you make one big major tournament. Do you remember what was this tournament?
Was it Air 2?
Yeah, exactly. Air 2. It was your first major, right?
Yeah, it's my first major, and I think if I can remember, I played Chalon in pools. I think it was that air.
Yeah.
Or I could be wrong.
In bracket, do you remember in bracket?
I think I played Salapat, right?
Yeah, you lost against Salpat?
Salapat and Unreal, I think I lost to.
Okay. So
Frenchie. I lost to 2 Frenchies. God damn it.
Hopefully you didn't make an hunger for Frenchie because that. Yeah. So yeah, you lost against 2 players. You finished top 64.
Yeah.
But after that, you was always motivated, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that like demotivated me, because the people I lost to were really good at the time. Like, I'd say they were all like top 50 or 40 in Europe. And that was like, okay, I did pretty well here. I can definitely carry on with my goals. And yeah, for my first major, I thought it was pretty good.
In general, when players did the first major, they realize how Melee is hard.
Yep.
How Melee have to take a long way to become a top player,
Yeah.
But you was more like, okay, I love it, I like the challenge, and I want still to be the best.
Yeah, it was like really fun going to an event that big, because I think it was one of the biggest events, if not the biggest in Europe at the time. There were so many new players and that hadn't played before, and obviously this was back before like net play and stuff.
Yeah.
So seeing all of these like European players that I'd never played or seen before, it was really cool. The atmosphere was really hype. Yeah.
Let's be honest. At this moment, some top UK players was not really your friends, like Fuzziness, Professor Pro, etc.
Yep. I don't think Prof even like spoke to me once before then.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was funny because like all of those guys, we weren't like, I didn't really know them, and then as soon as I got to that point where I said I was like probably top 5, suddenly I know all of them really well. And it's just like that. it sort of shows like how you get respected in the scene sometimes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, this is the rule. This is the rule. When you are new or something like that, it's normal to not play always against top player, to not talk always with top player, etc., etc. This is the rule. But do you remember who was the players who you played, who you practiced with them?
That's an interesting one because, like, in my scene, like when I joined, I've pretty much always been the best player. So it's always been practicing with like people worse than me.
Yeah.
And the only times I played people better than me was when I traveled to like other cities and other tournaments. So I can say like the people that I ran into the most was like R23, like Death Gazer, like those sorts of people. But in terms of like in my region, there wasn't really like I didn't really have a set practice partner, you know. It was a lot of just like playing on 20XX versus the computer, you know. Like that was my training.
Practice tech skill.
Yeah, because I was always that like the new school kid that plays really technical. Like I was the Slippy kid before Slippy kids were a thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because in the beginning you preferred to count of yourself, to trust yourself, and to practice by yourself, than to think about like I have to play against player better than me to be better than who I am right now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Why I say that? Because today players think if I want to improve, I have to play against player better than me. But it's not always the best way or the only way, you know.
Yeah. I also think like obviously the better you get, the less people there are that are better than you, right? So I think it's a skill that like as you get better, it becomes even more valuable that you can learn versus people worse than you, right? Because like especially for me right now, there's only like Lef and Triff that I think are like clearly above me in terms of play, and maybe Mackenzie when he's playing well, but but yeah, so there's lots of people that want to train and practice with me, and because I know how to improve versus people that are worse than me, like I'm happy to play all these people and learn what I can. Obviously it would be nice to play the better people, but that's not always available.
Yeah, but Frenzy, I have a question. Just tell me if I'm wrong. Into maybe 2016, I can't remember exactly. We played net play, right? We played net play.
Yeah, we played the old net play.
Yeah, I remember about that. Yeah. So we are in 2015. Frenzy practices by himself, with his tools. He didn't know Professor Pro. He didn't know Freeziness. He can play with the top player at this moment, right?
Yeah.
And he won't still always be the best player with a good motivation, right?
Yeah.
So we arrive in 2016. I'm saying 2016 is the era with the old net play. With faster melee. This is the name, faster melee.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
With a faster melee. Yeah, I remember we played sometimes, and I give you some tips, some way, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one thing is, when you play, I'm sure now you can see that, but when you play against a player and when you give tips, sometimes the players didn't want to accept the tips.
Yeah. I definitely get that.
But I remember you was not like that. You was more like a curious player. Curious player than just a player who won't always counter my argument or counter my sentence. So we can say faster melee help you a lot for improve or not so big.
For sure, yeah. I think I was one of the earlier like adopters of using netplay to improve, like playing lots of people. And yeah, it's kind of like I felt like before netplay, there was a big advantage for people that had lots of people in their scene. So like people living in London, for example, in the UK, had a much bigger advantage than me, because they had all these weeklies to go to and all these good people. Like, I think most of the PR'd players at the time were from London, so it's sort of like all the good people play each other and get better, and then everybody else is sort of like left to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
But I think net play and faster melee sort of like evened that playing field, which is really good, and we've sort of seen it again with Slippy now as well.
Yeah, clearly, I'm totally agree with what you say.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in 2016. You have your second big major. Do you remember what was the second big major?
I want to say Beast 6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you remember who win?
Oh, jeez. I want to say Armada.
Yeah, Armada win.
Armada.
Yeah.
His family was there. I remember. And I remember that was the Westball's Leffen set as well. That happened.
Yeah.
With wow, Westball is in fire.
Very, very trash talking. Very trash talking. I have a question about that, about the trash talk frenzy. When you was young in 2014, 2015,
Yep.
how do you motivate by yourself? Did you trash talk with some players? Did you trash talk yourself? How was your brain?
Yeah, so like I used to go to Smash Fest with some of the people in Bristol, and this guy I used to play with was a massive trash talker, and I used to lose to him all the time. And that, like, whenever I lose to someone and they sort of like make a big deal out of it, it really lights a fire under me. And I'm like, I've got to be this guy and shut him up. Like I'm not much of a trash talker myself.
Yeah.
But when somebody else does it to me, I'm like, I'm gonna destroy this guy so hard that he never opens his mouth again. So yeah, that's what motivates me, honestly, the most.
It's happened today or not?
Sometimes in Melee, I feel like if somebody's having too loud of a mouth, then like I feel the need to shut them up a bit. But not as much as it used to. I think because I've gotten good enough to where like people don't really want to trash talk the good players anymore. I feel like obviously Leffen's an exception, but
Yeah.
but I don't get like I don't start beefing with like Pipsqueak or Prof or whoever, like we're just sort of like, yeah, we all acknowledge we're all pretty good. Yeah.
So it's not like you don't like trash talk. You can accept the trash talk, right?
I can accept it, but I'm not very good at like dealing it back out. And when I take trash talk, I take it like really what's it called? I take it personally in a way to sort of like fire me up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't offend me, but it gets me a bit annoyed and motivated to beat them.
Yeah. I'm totally understand what you say. In a long time ago, the trash talk was very, very nice in Smash Bros. We love a trash talk, but we trash talk with respect. So it's mean when we trash talk, we just trash talk the players, not about the personality, about his life, about etc.
Yeah.
And today I notice people who want trash talk, they mix the players and the personality,
Yeah.
And that is not good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's good to trash talk, to send some pick with people who For example, Professor Pro. I'm sure you maybe you have already trash talked him.
Yeah. We did a little interview after the last UK major, and we were sort of like, egging each other on about who's going to be number one next season and stuff. So yeah.
That is nice trash talk. That is nice. Do you remember? Is in 2016 the first tournaments of you finished first?
Oh jeez. I don't actually. I don't.
You play in final against Air 23.
Yep.
You was in loser brackets. In loser final, you play against Aiken.
Oh, I think I remember. Attack
Huh?
on Southampton, maybe.
Exactly. Attack on Southampton 2.
Oh man, that event was funny because there was a crew battle between Bristol and Southampton as
Yeah.
well. And at the time, Bristol was seen as like one of the worst regions in the UK.
Oh.
And then I think the crew battle's still online, but Bristol actually ends up winning. And we're actually undefeated in crew battles,
Okay.
which is pretty hype.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Nice. And yeah, in this tournament, you finish first with
Yep.
reset brackets against
Reason, yeah.
N23. Do you remember you feeling at this moment to win? I'm not sure it's the first tournament of you win, but if I see in Wikipedia, Smash
Yeah.
Wikipedia, I see this is the first tournament of you finish first. So I maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the first tournament of you win or not?
I think I'd won smaller events before with
Okay.
like not as many good people.
Okay.
But I think that was the first tournament where I upset someone to win.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think around that time I might have been like 10th or 15th on the PR, and R23 was like solidly top 10. Yeah.
Because in the name of players, there was R23, Iken, Sechi, Loster was here too, you know? So, yeah, it was not a noob tournament. It was a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, just so anybody that is watching, this was before Sechi was any good.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was still playing Moth. He wasn't PR, I don't think.
But
So, yeah.
but you was too. You was too still young in 2015.
I was still. I think I was 16 at the time, but I think I was around 10th or 15th on the PR.
Okay, already.
that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel after that? After upset R23?
I honestly can't remember it, if I'm honest.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, like in terms of like big wins for me, I wouldn't say it was. It doesn't stick out in my mind, but I can say that it definitely motivated me a lot more and gave me some confidence in that, like I can beat these people, because especially R23, like I played him a lot in that era, and it was sort of like that one person that you always go to the event and you always lose to, right? And I had like a horrible record, and then I think that was the time where I finally like overcame that. So it's always nice to like overcome a bracket demon.
Yeah, I see. So, but yeah, it was a good feeling, maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure it felt good. Like I said, I just can't remember. You get to where you've attended like hundreds of tournaments, right? Like I'm sure you know the feeling, and it's just like they all sort of blend together sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go a little in the future. Do you remember when you played against Fuzines or Professor Pro the first time or not?
I think I've only played Fuzzy, at least offline, once. And I think I got 3-0'd or 3-1'd. I think it was at a kickstart. Prof, obviously I have a very long set history with him, but the first time I played him was actually when I was playing Samus.
Okay.
And that did not go well, as you'd expect. But that was in like 2015, I think.
Okay. So you meet Professor Pro in 2015 in the bracket, right?
Yeah, I think that was the first time.
Okay, funny. Have you asked to him? Do you remember when we had played for the first time? Or
I don't think so.
it can be interesting if he can remember or not.
Remember, he won't remember.
Yeah.
He won't. I know him.
It's funny. So we are in 2016. You have a lot of tournaments in 2016. You have the beach, you have Kickstart, you have Sounds Coast Regional 11, you have Here 3, you have Attack on Substone, Eclipse 2. You was in Eclipse 2?
Yeah, that was an awful tournament for me. I'm not gonna lie. I think I got upset like twice. there, and I think I got like 33rd or something, which was like a really bad performance for me. I think that was like my worst major for the time.
Okay.
Like, I think that might have been the first time I like traveled out to a different country and done really bad, which sucked at the time. I was in that sort of like, oh, maybe I should not play Falco anymore. Maybe I need to play another character. Like the emo phase.
Yeah. So when you was mad.
I was mad, yeah.
Yes, it's normal to be mad. It's normal,
Yeah.
But how did you do for make the motivation back?
I mean, I'd say like for me, it's always been one of those things where I'm just like salty for like a day or two, and then after that, I really get the fire back, and I'm like, damn, I want to prove myself again. Sort of like the trash talk thing I was saying earlier, just like that's what motivates me is like, somebody making a big deal out of a win or like me doing bad. Like I'm always way more motivated after I lose at a tournament than when I win. But yeah, for that, like the rest of the event, I was pretty salty, but I was like, I'm still here. I'm still gonna, play friendlies, maybe money match people if they're down. But yeah, like try and make the most of it.
Yeah. Did you play a lot of money match when you started in 2014, 15?
No, to be honest, I mean, I did it occasionally because, again, like when you're the worst player, like people, like the good players don't want to play you, right? So money matching is a way to like get in with those people. I think it's gotten a bit better now where people are more willing to just play. But I've always been a bit like scared to put money on the line, especially because I was so young as well. Like obviously I didn't have like a job or anything. But yeah, in hindsight, I do wish I'd done it more, honestly, because I think it's really good for building like, like getting used to being nervous and playing under pressure, and also getting to play versus people that you wouldn't otherwise get to play versus.
Yeah. Tell me if I'm wrong, but in USA it's like that. Like if you want to play against top player, you have to money match them.
I think it depends on the player. Like I'm happy to play pretty much anyone. Like if you're like what's it called? Like if you want me to play seriously, then obviously it would be better if like I was actually playing for money. But I think most people, like if you ask them, and it's not like a bad time, like don't ask them just before they're about to play grand finals. If it's just day one of the event and it's pools or whatever, that's usually a good day to ask some of the top players. But yeah, I think it depends on the person.
Okay, it depends on the player. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, back to you. So you did a lot of tournaments in 2016, like I say, Eclipse 2, Final Destination 19, Kickstart 13, DreamHack, Winter 2016. Do you remember this tournament, DreamHack?
I do remember DreamHack, yeah. I think I lost to Luigo in pools, or Pontus, whatever tag they're going by now, a Puff player from Sweden. And then I lost to Dady, who some people probably know, Samus from Sweden. And who's the other person? I don't think I remember. Was it Android? I think it was Android.
In brackets, I will tell you right now, you lost against Android 2-0, yes.
Yep, Android.
And then, like you say, after win against ER Ice, American player.
Yep.
So yeah, you win against ERS, and then you play against Dady, and you got 3-0 or 3.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I have a funny recollection from DreamHack actually, because that was the first time I actually met Pipsqueak, and I think he'd been playing for about a year at the time. And I remember I was on a setup with him and Prison, and we were all like pretty new, and we were all like the new school kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And like we were all really bad, but it's just funny that like that was the first time I met him, and like now we're all like some of the best players in Europe. So.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the message is what's happened where you are. If you have an objective, you can success.
For sure.
Yeah, so DreamHack, like I said, DreamHack was a big tournament because the cash prize for the first was $15.
15,000.
Yeah, $15,000. Yeah.
$15 sounds like
Weekly.
sounds like my weekly.
Weekly, small weekly. $15,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is, yeah, for Smash especially.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Mango, Hungrybox, Armada were all there.
Yeah, Armada, Hungrybox, Leffen, and Mango, the top four.
Yeah.
And how did you feel like when you see this top American player like Mango, Hungrybox, Wizrob, etc.?
I mean, I always just feel like I'm actually not much of a fan of watching like top 8 and stuff usually because I always get this feeling of damn, I want to be up there playing. Like, I want to be in the one in grand finals, not the Mangoes or the Armadas or whatever. But yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and especially because Mango was there, I was like trying to pick up and learn what I could from him, like watching him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always makes me a bit salty inside when I watch a top 8, and I was in the tournament and then I lost because I'm like, damn, I want to be up there,
Yeah. I won't become better. I want to become better. Yeah.
Exactly.
So did you ask to play against them, or do you ask money match or something like that, or no, not ever?
No, top players are scary, man.
Ah.
Too scary for a young 16-year-old frenzy. I did like, what's it called? I was considering it because I remember I was sat behind like watching Mango and Maky play, and I was like thinking of a way to like try and get in, but it's just this thing where like when you're not a top player, like you're a little noob or whatever, like the top players, they just have this aura around them, and like you can't describe it, but it's just sort of this like pressure that you can't talk to them, and then like they're somehow like above you, or at least that's how it felt to me. And then when you become like a top player and you actually meet them, like I actually spoke to Mango for the first time at Summit, and he was just like a normal dude. And I was just like, okay, why was I feeling like this, so many years ago? So we're definitely not scary as we seem.
It's funny. So yes, so you finished the years 2016 with the DG Winter Clash 2016. You finished top 8.
Yep.
It was in Germany. You remember this tournament?
Yep. I remember I lost to Reaper and Dalung. And I think I beat Kellner and Blaze.
Dalung, the Fox player, right?
Yep, Fox player. Yep.
Yeah,
quite old school.
Yeah. Clearly, yeah. And clearly, yes, you lost against Reaper and then you lost against Dalung. Yeah, you beat Blaze, yeah, like you say, and you beat Kellner. Yeah. Good brain, Frenzy. Good brain.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at remembering who I lost to, honestly. It's on my little death note that I keep on my desk.
It's funny because when we compare you rank in 2016 and you rank in 2017, they are a big difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For example, in best 6, you finish top 128. All right?
Let's go.
For the best 7, so something like 1 year later, you finish top 30.
Oh, 25th. Yeah,
25th.
I think that tournament I lost to Eagle and who was it? I think it was an IC's player.
I have the answer. Just a moment.
Go on. I forget. I know I beat Chez that tournament. We had to play, which was pretty funny.
Where you are? No, you are not here. It was in brackets. It was in brackets, right?
Yeah. I definitely lost to Eagle in losers.
Because
who I lost to in winners.
Yeah, and I think it's not full brackets.
Ah, okay. Fair.
Yeah, because winner brackets, it's like quarter, not quarter, before quarter. What is quarter?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. But you make a good tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. Like, could see myself progressing, and like I was getting closer to the like. What I really wanted was like short term was like to get a top 8.
Yeah.
A big tournament.
But Beast 7 finish top 33. Then HFLAN Melee Edition, you finished top 9.
Yeah. That one was a pretty funny tournament because so there was Afaj, is that how you say it? I think he upset Chillin' Dude.
Yeah,
was what happened.
Afaj,
yeah, and then I upset Doimling, Ice Climbers player from Germany.
Yeah.
Who was quite good at the time. And then so we had to play in like I think it was the round before winners quarters or something like that.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube somewhere. And so because of some like an upset plus some like bracket luck, I ended up having to play. I think it was Baxon to get into top 8, which I lost. But I think that was my best performance. And it was funny because I actually got upset in pools at that tournament, like on day 1 by Mawakat, a Luigi player.
Yeah, the Luigi player from Germany.
Yeah. And I was really salty after, and I did the thing where you put your HUD up and your emo and whatever. But I think that was my best tournament so far, like at that time period.
Yeah, you did a good job in this tournament, huh? Yeah, you finish exactly. You finish like me. We finish the same rank. Yeah.
Like good old Mackenzie.
Yeah, so HFLAN Melee Edition, good rank, and then after Hair 4.
Yep.
Still a good rank for the young Frenzy. Top 33 again.
Yeah, I don't actually remember Air 4 that well, if I'm honest. I think that's the Air that I remember the least about. Like, I don't actually remember who I beat or lost to.
I will tell you who was you Beast, Black Beast. But do you remember the tournaments or not? Not very much.
No, like I said, so I went to Air 2 through 5, and I think Air 4 is the one I remember the least. Yeah.
Because Air 4, they say you lost against Mr. Limon, a Dr. Mario player from America. Do you remember that or not?
Air 4? That was a Shine I lost to him.
Already? Shine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. My bad. Air 4, GRPS? What's that? What's mean? No. They are not information for Air 4. And yeah, in Shine 2017, it was...
Mr. Lemon and Junebug.
Yeah.
That's who I lost to.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the first tournament in America, right?
No, my first one was actually in 2016, which was Big House 6.
Okay.
Which was the tournament where Ice got 3rd, right? He did really well over there. And yeah, a load of Europeans went over, and that was when I played against a Kirby on stream, the best Kirby in the world. Triple R.
Did you lost?
No, I won actually.
Okay.
And the UK crowd were like screaming for me beating a Kirby. So the YouTube comments is a load of really salty people about I can't believe this Falco was like taunting a Kirby or whatever. But yeah, it was a pretty good time. I think I got 97th or something like that. I think I lost to Mafia, who's a Peach player, and Envy, who was a Puff player. And yeah, I beat Triple R, was like my only good win there. But it was weird going to America for the first time because it was like so different to like Europe.
Yeah.
The scale of it, and all the good players there.
And
you know, like
NTSC version 2.
Yeah, NTSC exactly as well. Like obviously, I played a little bit of it because 20XX was NTSC.
Okay.
But this was when all of Europe was PAL. So the strat for the Europeans back then was like, yeah, we just play on NTSC for like 3 weeks beforehand, and then hope that's enough, which it isn't. But that was all we had. But yeah, it was mainly just like the pressure of playing like such good people in best of threes, and it's like way more crowded and it's a lot louder, and just the air's different. Like America is a lot more competitive, I think, than the European air.
Yeah. Did you remember how was you feeling when you arrive in America and play against American player? Because I'm pretty sure the level, like you say, is not really the same. And in America, it's like you can lost against anybody. Like you can lost against a middle American player.
Yeah, I was very nervous for sure, and I think that's something I've only gotten over in the past, like the last time I went to America, so Smash World Tour.
Yeah.
Like every time I've been over there, I've always thought I was really good, and then I'd play someone, and I'd be like, I'm not prepared for this at all, and they always surprised me when I went over there, and especially that being like the first time I went over, it was like so many like new characters I never played against before, and like play styles. But yeah, definitely nervous was like the main feeling, but excited.
Yeah, I remember one day you tell me a story about Bobby Big Balls or it's Ginger. I can't remember who was.
Yeah, Bobby. I think it was Bobby.
He won a money match you, right?
Yeah, I think I took about $30 from him in $5 money matches because he just kept running it back, and I was like, "Yep, I'll keep taking that. Thank you very much."
So, but do you remember why he did that? Why?
I think he was just a big grinder at the time, and I mean he is now. But that's another change in America. Is like everybody wants to money match because they feel like they're proving themselves. Like if I win this money match, I am better than you. You know, like that's the vibe Americans give off to me. Whereas in Europe, like I feel like the players don't care about that almost. Like they don't care in the same way. Whereas like Bobby comes up to me, and this is just how I see it, but he's like, I can beat this guy. I want to show I'm better than him, so I'm going to money match him, right?
Yeah.
I think there's two types of money match. In America, there's sort of the pride match, where you do that to show you're better than the other person. And then the other one is when you money match a top player, right? Like I money matched none a few times because I was like, I just want to play this guy and get the experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so different because we just don't have that in.
Do you remember? Do you remember the price of the money match of none?
It's always $5.
Okay.
Yeah, $5 best of 5 is like the standard.
Okay, so for example, if I go to America and I want to play against Zane, I money match him for $5. He will accept.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there might be some inflation now or something, but yeah, it's usually $5 best of 5.
Okay. Yes, it is. Okay. It's interesting because you can win a lot of money like that.
Yeah, so that's like the main way. Like so like I always think of it as like there's tiers. Like you've got your big guys like the Zane, Mango, Leffen, whatever, and then you've got the tier below, like your SFATs, your S2Js, your nuns, and that's how like that tier of player afford to go to so many events. Is they go to a major, they get top 8, 9th in bracket or whatever, and then they sit down at a setup and they money match for like 3 hours straight. Ooh. And that pays for their flight. Wow. They probably make more from money matches than they do from top 8 in the
cash
event.
Prize tournaments. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, but like that's how they survive.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how it used to be before. I think there's a few more sponsors in Smash now, but that's how it is for a lot of players that are trying to break into that top tier, which obviously we don't have in Europe, right? Because nobody wants to come up and money match Frenzy or the Pipsqueaks.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, they have, for me, they have a defeated mentality. They just think like, oh, but you will win.
I'm gonna lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose. Yeah, and it's like in America, they're like I said, they're playing the top player and they know they're going to lose anyway, but they sort of want to play them because there's a bit more of like a fan culture over there, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to meet this big guy and he's so cool or whatever. Whereas like in Europe, it's like you're down the pub with them after anyway, so like they're not really this big idol for you, you know.
Yeah.
Or it's like I said, it's like I want to prove that I'm better than this person,
Mm-mm-mm.
and in the Europeans we just don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do miss it sometimes, honestly.
The thing is, I don't know if you have lived that, but a lot of players sometimes ask to me, Makenchi, can you play seriously now? You know, they try to found like the best level of yourself. But in this situation, I think money match is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would like people to do if they wanted to play a serious set with me. But I feel like what a lot of people do at the moment is, you know, we're playing on netplay, playing, and then at the end they're like, do you want to run a best of 5? And I'm like, yeah, sure, you know? And like, that's my cue to sort of try. And obviously if there was some money on the line, it would probably replicate like a tournament setting better. But I think people are just very hesitant to do that over here. I think that's a big difference between here and America.
Yeah. The mentality is very different.
Yeah. I think it's like I said, I can't tell whether it's a good or a bad thing, but I would like it more if people, especially even just the top players amongst themselves, did that more. Because I think it gets you used to playing under pressure more, which is always good.
Yeah, pressure. I think pressure is good, and with pressure is very good too.
Mm-hmm.
So back to UA, we are in 2018, and still always a big tournament with Valhalla, Genesis 5. You have Regent 2018, Awakening, Super Smash Con, etc. And it's funny because in 2018 you almost finish always top 8 up top 24.
Yeah. I think around that time, especially in Europe, a lot of the sort of like established good players sort of left or dropped off, and it was the start of like the newer school players getting good and reaching those top 8s. Because I remember like, so if you go to like Beast 6, right, like 2016, the top Falco players, you think like Baxon, you think oh god, who else was around? Deathgazer. I think Remen had just stopped playing around then. But it's those sorts of people, right? And then you get to 2018, and you're thinking it's mainly like me, Adam. I think Android was playing a little bit of Falco back then. But that was one of the things that motivated me a lot, was the top players were always complaining, oh, there's no good Falco to play against. Like that was always a problem matchup when they went over to America, and I was like, I'm gonna be the Falco they practice with, so that they can beat Mango, right? And yeah, I was just like, you know, I want to be that Falco in top 8 that everybody cheers for. And you know, I think I've succeeded a little bit with that. You know, I've got some competition with, you know, Kinzo, but yeah, I think that was one of the main things that drove me in that sort of like 2018 era, was wanting to be that Falco representation.
It's clearly in 2018 the new wave who become top players.
For sure, yeah.
Like Mint, Chez, Nikki, you, etc. Rishi, etc. Yeah, a lot. It's funny. Yeah, it's funny because it's like a new generation who got the goal. You understand what I mean?
Got the goal, as in like big aspirations.
Yes, success. You know.
Yeah.
All this work since 2014, 2015. In 2018, we can see the hard work and the reward of all of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think like all of those players you mentioned, I think are all dot kids. And I think there's a lot of dot kids that started in 2014 or around then, and then that was when they started to shine, like you said. So especially Zane's a big one as well. So like newer players now, they see Zane as like, you know, probably best player in the world right now. But he's actually a dot kid, and I think he started in the same month as me. And 2018, 2017 is sort of when he had his big breakouts as well.
Yeah.
So it does seem like most of the dot kids that started then, it took about 3 or 4 years, and sort of then they were at the point where they're doing really well.
Yeah, and that is very interesting. That is very interesting. Like you say, for Zen, he starts in the first tournament was the first big tournament 2015 in Wikipedia Smash 15, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you.
Yeah.
So clearly. And in this year 2018, so when you lost only against good player, Professor Pro. Maky.
Professor Pro a lot will come up in that.
Yeah, you lost a lot against Professor Pro. Yeah, you lost in Spike in January, you lost in Runaway 3, you lost in Mercut for 2 people, you lost in Longest Regional 2, Ashraf Landme Edition. Professor Pro, wow! Yes, Professor Pro was really... Come on, Frenzy. You play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. You lost 12 times against Professor Pro.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a lot, huh?
It is, yeah, and I think that was the year where I got my first win on Prof. I could be wrong. It was a short hop pair was the tournament.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was 2018 or 2017, but it came as a complete shock to me because it wasn't even like I was super preparing for him or anything. Like, obviously I'd been going to events and losing to him and stuff, but I just like randomly beat him. Like, I was just playing really well, he was playing really bad. And obviously he destroyed me in losers after. But then after that, it took a long while until I beat him again. I think he sort of woke up and was like, okay, I'm not letting this happen again. Like, he actually saw me as a threat, right? Yeah. I think that was the first time. And like, obviously we'd spoken before because we were 2 of the people that traveled to tournaments a lot. But I think before that, he sort of saw me as like, oh, just one of those UK guys that goes to tournaments. And then after that, he was sort of like, okay, this guy is going to be one of the top competitors that, I travel with and stuff. But yeah, I had a long history of losing to Prof before we got to where we are now,
Yeah, but it's good because it's because you lost, you become what you are now.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that period was really cool because, like you said, it was sort of like the new wave of players, right? And in the UK especially that happened because you had like me and Chez, I think were the main 2 that came up in that time, but you also had Maxi, Mint. But yeah, so there was like this new era of top players. And the narrative had always been in UK ever since I started, like, oh, Prof just comes to these events and takes our money, right? He always wins. Nobody ever beats him. And remember what I said about, like, that's the sort of thing that really annoys me, is when people are like, oh, this is just how it is. And, I want to prove myself, right?
Yeah.
So I'd always have that every event. I was like, God damn it, I'm going to beat this guy and shut these people up. And that's what drove me through that. That's why I could like lose 12 times in a row and still show up to these events. Was just because I wanted to prove something,
Yeah. It's interesting mentality. Professor Pro was Zen in America.
Yeah, I think like that era, like 2017, 2018, was when he was going over there loads. Like that was when he was most active over there. And I think at the time he was around like a top 40 player, maybe top 30. I'm not sure what his peak rank was. But, this is when you'd see him versus someone like S2J and be like, oh yeah, you could beat him. Not that he could, like, obviously he could now as well. But that was like when he was getting on everybody's radar, I feel like.
Yeah. This is a Professor Pro rivality with Frenzy.
Yeah. I wouldn't have called it a rivalry back then. It was a stomp.
We are so in 2018, so you make a very good result in tournaments, and then 2019 you confirm you're improving. You confirm you're improving. Why? Because you make top 8 in Valor. You win short hop here too. You make top 8 in HF Land Melee Edition.
Yeah.
You make top 8 in Region 2019. You make top 17 in Smash and Splash.
Yeah, that was a really good one actually. So I think this is around the time when I was I was expected in top 8 in Europe. And so people were wanting to see how, obviously I'd been to America before, but I'd never really gotten that far. I think my highest placing before that was 65th at Genesis.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first time I went to Smash and Splash, and I lost to Lucky and KJH. And they started this trend of I would go to America, I wouldn't really lose to anyone terrible or worse than me. But I never really got that big upset, you know? You always hear of oh, this guy went and he beat Mango, or he beat Hungrybox, or he beat whoever, right? But I never really had that in America. It was always I'm just gonna place pretty consistently around the 33rd, 17th, 25th sort of mark. But yeah, I'd say that year was definitely where I was cementing myself as a top player. Not a person who could win a major in Europe, but definitely you'll see this guy in top 8.
Yeah, a positive mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Positive, yeah. Smash and Splash. This is not the tournament Hussein upset Leffen.
That Smash and Splash was the one where Wizzy won.
Okay.
It might have been a Zane Laughing, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was the one that was Wizzy, and he does the Charizard pose at the end when he pops off.
Okay, yeah, a lot of Smash and Splash. So you finish top 8 in Fate with a 4th.
Yep.
You finish top 8 in Super Bowl 3, finish second. Second in Super Bowl. I think this is the first time you make a very big best score in major tournaments or not?
Yeah, I think that was the highest I'd placed at a European event.
Yeah.
And I think that was. I'm not actually sure who. I know I beat Kinzo at that event because that event was pretty important. That was his breakout tournament.
Yeah.
With Super Bowl because he beat Ice.
Yeah.
I think he 3-0'd him or it was something like that. And then I played Kinzo and I was like, oh crap, this guy just beat Ice. I'm in trouble. and I go down 2-0. And then I reverse 3-0 him in the end. And that started this trend of we would play, he would go 2-0 up, and then I'd reverse 3-0 him so many times. It was really cool.
You win against Pipsqueak 3-0, you win against Nikki 3-2, you win against Kinzo 3-2. Yeah, clearly it was a very, very nice and big way.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big tournaments for me. I think that was one of the ones that cemented myself as top 10 Europe. The recurring trend ever since start of 2018 to now has always been Triff. Triff's always been my bracket demon. Ever since I've been in that top 8, top of Europe, because he's the only person I've never beaten outside of Leffen.
Yeah.
His peach at least.
Triff and Leffen, yeah, main, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Leffen I've beaten on box, but I don't really count that.
Yeah, you talk about 100% level, yeah. I understand what you mean, yeah. And you beat Amsa too, Amsa.
Yeah, Amsa. I always loved running into the Sheiks. Because Sheik, like I was saying, I played with R2-3 a lot when I was getting better. So Sheik has always been my comfort matchup. And I personally believe it's my best matchup. A lot of people say it's Fox. Which, I think it's just because I play against Fox so much. But, if you look at my America results as well, I beat J-Mook recently. And he's considered, a top 30 player at the moment. And I was going into that super confident because I was yep, Sheik's just my matchup, you know? I think everybody has that one matchup that they love playing and it's super fun for them.
Yeah.
They feel confident. You know, for Marts, it's usually Fox or Falco. For Falcos, it is usually Fox, honestly. But for me, it's just Sheik. I loved playing against
So
Hamza and that. Yeah.
Sheik was your favorite matchup.
Yeah, and I think it still is, honestly.
That's why
Um,
you beat Mewtwo King Sheik, huh?
yeah, like yeah, he went Sheik versus me, and I kind of washed it, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going Moth."
Always,
But
always, always, Frenzy, always, huh?
yeah, but yeah, no, the Sheik like has just always been a matchup I really understand. Like back when I first started as well, my friends played Sheik, so I've just always had a Sheik that I've practiced with. So it's just always been a nice matchup for me.
Yeah, it's normal, I think, to get a favorite matchup, and particularly when Sheik player, a player like Hamza with his level is very rarely in Europe, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um, yeah.
yeah, it's mean if you can beat Hamza, it's mean you can beat all Sheik in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Like that was where I got the majority of my really good wins was on the Sheiks. And like this was in the time where if I was getting to quarters and I had a Sheik, I was like, yep, this is go time. This is where I get top 8. And if I was getting to quarters and I was getting Triff, I was like, guess I'm running through losers this time. Like it just felt like a bit of bracket luck. But yeah, that was like the sort of Sheik Peach era of EU Melee, where you had like VA and Triff, and then you had all of the European Sheiks, right?
Yeah, clearly. So we advance in the future. You went in Big House number 9. Do you remember this tournament?
Yeah, that was in 2019, right?
2019. Yes.
Yep. So I lost to Crike, who's a moth. I'm not sure what state he's from, but that was an upset over me. That was a really rough set because it was best of 3, which is one of the hardest things about playing in America. Is you play these people that you don't know and they're really good, and you play them best of 3.
Best of 3. I don't like best of 3. I don't like it.
Yep. So then I dropped to losers. It was kind of annoying because if I'd have won that set, I would have had Mike Hayes, who I think I would have beaten, honestly. Like, Fox was one of my better matchups at the time. He didn't really like Falco. But yeah, I dropped to losers. I play a load of people. I played against a Ness, actually. Like, the best Ness in, like, Canada or something. And I had a huge crowd against me. And I actually got really pissed off at them after I lost. They weren't chanting anything, like, super offensive. But it was just one of those things where I was tilted from my loss before, and now I'm playing against some low tier in losers. And, if I lose to a Ness to get eliminated, that's not a good look, But yeah, I powered through that, and then I had to play Rick to make it into top 64. Rick's a really good like Fox and Falco player that I'd actually lost to when I went to America beforehand. But I clutched it out versus him, made it to day 2. And then I played against Kuyashi, who's another moth, who I did quite well versus. And then I think I had Zamu after that. Zamu's also really good. A lot of people know Zamu now. He was like top 60 at the time, I think.
You win 3-1 against Zamu?
I did win, yeah. And again, this was this trend of like I would beat people lower ranked than me. Like I wouldn't have that many like really big wins, but then I never got like that big upset on someone, right? So then I think I played none after that.
Yeah.
Lost 3-1. That was actually a pretty good set. Again, Falcon's always been another one of my good matchups, just because A, I play Falco, and B, I've had like set sheet practice versus a lot.
Is it in this tournament of you play Mewtwo King?
No, that was Super Smash Con in 2018.
Okay. The first time you played Mewtwo King. Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to go back to that tournament?
Yeah, because the thing is, just before you told me you start Melee because documentary, because Mewtwo King, because etc.
Yeah.
And you played against him few years.
Yeah. It was pretty funny because I was just like, damn, this guy, like I've heard so much and he was my idol for so long, and like I'm finally getting to play him.
Yeah.
But I actually played out of my mind when I played him like that. That was like the best I'd ever played. because I just sort of got into the zone. I was like, I'm just gonna show as much as I can versus him. It was almost like I wanted to try and impress him, you know. Because this was back when he was like fully competing and he was, you know, going to all these tournaments. So he was like a top like 5 player or whatever. But yeah, that was my like best placement to date in America.
Yeah.
Because I got 9th at that tournament. Again, there was just a combination of me like getting an upset and some bracket luck, because I think Plup and some of the people dropped out. So I had to play Drunk Sloth in like the first round of top 64.
Drunk Sleffen?
Drunk Sloth. He's an IC's player.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually ended up getting to winners quarters of Super Smash Con, which was kind of crazy for the time. And I was actually the highest placing Falco at that tournament. Because Mango lost to like an IC's player and then dropped out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so I lost to 2 mouths that tournament. I lost to Mutaking and Rishi.
Okay.
And Rishi like absolutely annihilated me. Like that was the top 8 qualifier. And I think I got like triple 3 stocks in like 6 minutes or something. I had no idea what I was doing. That was like, I think the worst I'd ever been beaten in a tournament set. So you know, I'm on the plane home and I'm like, damn. And that's how I always feel coming back from America. I'm like, damn, I've got something big to work on here, which is why I like going over there. Yeah,
it's like you realize you don't know the matchup against Mars.
Yeah, that's definitely what I realized. I was like, I've got some big holes in my gameplay.
I feel like Iken is nice, he's good, but
yeah. He's a bit different to Rishi.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand. So yeah, clearly you make a very big way from the young frenzy to 2019. We still the same mentality. We still the same objective.
Yeah, be the best. That's always what it's been. And obviously, like I go to America, I get my ass kicked, and like maybe there's a little bit of doubt there, but you know, I'm still on my way.
Then after that, after a beautiful 2019 years, you make a very great tournament. Like I say, Big House top 25, DreamHack Rotterdam top 8. Top 8, huh? In DreamHack. Can you understand?
DreamHack. Yeah. I think that one I lost to Zane and Prof.
Yeah, exactly.
And those two got first and second. So I got really unlucky with the bracket because I think Prof lost to someone early. But yeah, my set versus Zane was pretty good. I was pretty close to taking games.
Against Ice. He lost against Ice.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But yeah, versus Zane I was pretty close. But yeah, that was a good tournament. I think the biggest tournament in 2019 was Nang 2. I'm not sure if that's on Wikipedia.
Repeat now. No.
Nang Nang 2.
Nang.
NG, yeah.
NAG. I didn't found that.
Okay, so that tournament was the first tournament I won over Prof.
Okay.
And that was the first time Prof had lost a tournament to a UK player in, I think it was 7 years. So it was a long streak that was broken.
Oh, Nanges Regional 2, yeah.
Nanges Regionals 2, yeah. That was the one. Yeah, and there's a video online of like the end of it and the interview after and all of that. But yeah, that was like one of the most historic tournaments in like UK history. Because I think I won in winners and then lost the first set of grands and then won like game 10 versus him or whatever. It was a really hype set. But yeah, that was the first time that like Prof being, well, not Prof being number one, but somebody was actually challenging him, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the time there was this like triad of like me, Prof, and Sechi. But it was sort of like me and Sechi were fighting for number 2. And Prof was still number 1. But yeah, I'd say throughout those years, my biggest rival was definitely Sechi rather than Prof, because we were both getting really good, both up and comers from the UK, you know. But yeah, I'd say that was the most important tournament of 2019.
When you say Professor, you challenge Professor Pro, right? You challenge him. It was like it was you friends partner practice, or you just play Professor Pro in tournaments and that's all.
I'd say like we practiced a bit. I think again this was a bit before net play was like fully established.
Yeah.
At least Slippy. But we were traveling to events a lot because again we were the two of the only people that really traveled from the UK. So we were becoming like pretty good friends. But we didn't really play much outside of tournament. Like obviously we both went to events and we played each other there in friendlies. But yeah, I'd say that was when we were starting to like get to know each other a lot better and like become like proper friends.
Yeah, Professor Pro is a very good guy. I think I respect him a lot.
He is.
And I want to just say something about him. Last time I talked with him, like maybe last week, I talked with him about competition and about losing, and about say, sometimes maybe I'm afraid to lose, because maybe people expect a lot of me, or and last time I listened you podcast, you Max and Professor Pro and Kingu. And he say, last time I talked with somebody and blah 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 blah, talk about losing, etc. He didn't say I talk about Mackenzie, I talk with Mackenzie. And and when I saw that, I feel like he's very quiet person and very discreet, very very in his side, he don't want. He's in the shadow. In the shadows. In the shadow. Professor Pro. This is just a parenthesis about Professor Pro. Because I want to ask a question, Frenzy. In France, I don't know why, but top players never practice in top players. So it means I didn't play a lot with Maky or Raoul or Charlon, etc., etc. What's happened in UK? Did you play a lot with Professor Pro, with Mint, with Chez, or did you have make suspense for hide you ego? I don't know what else.
So I feel like we'd play each other when we could at events. Like I wouldn't say people really hid that much. I will say back then, like me and Sechi didn't really like each other that much, so we didn't really play friendlies. But like me and Prof and everybody else, like I tried to play whoever. But then after net play came out, like Slippy, I know this is jumping forward a bit, but like everybody's been playing each other loads. So I never felt like people in UK are like hiding from playing each other to like gain an edge or anything. I feel like people just want to play each other, and then we'll see what happens in tournament.
It's like European mentality, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe in America it's different. Maybe I don't know. But yeah. So you were probably in 2019 one of the best. European players, because you make a lot of top 8, and we arrive in 2020, Sleepy era. Sleepy era with just before Sleepy era, they are the Vala 3. Top 8 again.
I lost to Triff and oh god, I want to say Prof.
Vala. I will tell you right now. Vala. It was in Netherlands, right?
Leffen. I lost to Leffen and Triff.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Leffen, you lost 3-1.
Yeah, I took a game on Stadium, which was pretty hype at the time.
Yeah, can you imagine? You were in 2020 and take the first game in tournaments at Leffen. I think this is the first. This is the first time you beat Leffen one match, right?
Yeah, that's the first time I took a game. Yeah, but to be honest, like I think that was the first time I played him, like Fox Falco. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it was a pretty fun set. I think I played pretty well. But then he does his Leffen thing where it's like close for a bit and then he just destroys you. Yeah.
This is Lefen.
And then, the second loses versus Triff. I think that was the closest I've ever got to beating him.
Yeah,
That
3-2.
went game 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Game 5.
Exactly. Game 5, very close. So clearly we are very far to this young frenzy who got 3-0 by the top players.
For sure.
Very far. And so we enter in the era Sleepy, and you did Battle of the Armada. Do you remember these tournaments? Mid Edition 2?
Yep. I think I lost to Rix, and was that one where I lost to Nicholas?
You lost against. They are not frenzy friends.
I did really bad at the start of 2020. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Kinzo, you lost against Kinzo.
Kinzo. Okay.
Yeah, in loser brackets. Yeah, in loser brackets. So Triff and Kinzo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So it's very, very. It's not very far. The era, the Sleepy online with Levo, with Poilon Arena, with Smash Summit. You did Smash Summit. The question is, what did you think about this era? Did you think is prove something or not really?
So like my mentality over the whole of COVID and Slippy and all of that was just, I'm gonna keep playing so that I can be as good as I can be when we come back to LAN and go to America again. I never thought about it like, oh, I want to prove myself online. The only time I started to think a little bit like that was when we had the same circuit, right? And there was the summit spots up for grabs. That was the only time where I was like, yeah, net play counts for a lot right now. But yeah, like the whole time I was just like, I'm gonna keep playing just because I want to be really good when everybody comes back to LAN, because I know a lot of people are gonna stop playing over COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I think that worked out for me in the end. It did get a bit draining because, you know, you're doing all these tournaments and they don't really mean anything to a lot of people. And there's no sort of like end in sight for it. But yeah, I think I actually came to like netplay quite a lot. You know, I'm traveling to events now and I'm like, damn, before in the netplay era, we were just, you know, you log on and you play your tournament and then you don't have to commute for like 3 hours to get to get to the event, you know?
Yeah.
I know you're an old school player, so you prefer in person. But yeah, no, I think I like both. I think they both have like their upsides and downsides.
Yeah.
Whether netplay actually means anything, I couldn't give like a good answer. But at the very least, I think it's good for practice.
Clearly, I totally agree. Clearly, yeah. So you finished this Sleepy era, even if we are still in Sleepy era, but post-COVID, you finish this Sleepy era with the Smash World Tour. Smash World Tour in America. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I hope I do.
Yes, it was a few months ago. You know, I'm not a fish. Yeah. How did you feel for this tournament? Because I know Mango was missing, Lefen give up, Zen give up, IBW give up, a lot of players give up. How did you feel about these tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the tournament went pretty well for me. Again, it sort of followed this narrative I've always had in America where I beat people worse than me and I lose people better than me, right? Like, so at the event, obviously I qualified through the regional event, so I didn't have to do any, you know, like qualifying through the open bracket. So I knew who I was playing ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
So I knew my pool was Wizzy, Aura, and HP. So Aura and HP I felt pretty confident against. I was just like, you know, if I play well enough, then I'm probably going to win. And I don't think that they were really classed as like big wins for me. Maybe Aura was someone that like sort of similar skill level, and it was good to see how I compare. But then going into it, I really wanted to beat Wizzy because I'd just seen like Magi beat Wizzy at Summit. And obviously there's always been this thing of like, oh, Wizzy sucks versus Falco, blah blah blah. You know, I've got all that Sechi experience, so I felt like if there was one top player I was going to upset, it was going to be Wizzy, right?
Yeah.
just because I've got so much experience in the matchup. And then I play Wizzy and I get absolutely destroyed game one. And it was not like I'd imagined at all. And then game two, I actually win on FD. And then I think I started to let it slip a bit by the end.
Okay.
And then I find out that the last person in my pool, which was someone that qualified through the qualifier, was King, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have watched that set. There's a lot of people that have stuff to say. But I end up losing that set 3-2. But it actually ended up giving me a better bracket. So if I'd have won that set, I would have actually had to play Coda in round one of Smash World Tour, which would have been a terrible draw for me, right? Because I'm not the best versus Moth. And Codarin's really good versus Moth, right?
Versus Falco, you mean?
Versus Falco, yeah. But instead, because I lost that set to King, I actually got Panda instead, which is a much better draw for me. Fox player, low top 100 level, right?
Yeah.
And then my bracket from there was really good because I had Panda into Jmook. And like I was saying before, Jmook was like a really big like comfort matchup for me. And then that was to make it into I think it was lose against ninth. Like it was the top 8 qualifier if I won that, and the top 8 qualifier was versus Pipsqueak. And that set actually wasn't meant to happen. Like they messed up the bracket progressions, so we weren't actually meant to play, which is kind of unfortunate because I didn't think either of us wanted to play each other. And so yeah, I felt like I did pretty well at the event. Again, I would have liked to have been King, obviously, because that would have been a good win for me.
Yeah.
And again, like I'd never really gotten an upset in America before, like a big upset at least. And I feel like that would have put my name on the map.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like I'm pretty good, and I think a lot of Europe knows me, but a lot of Americans don't know me because I don't have that one like, oh, this guy beat Wizzy, or this like a lot of people know Albert because he beat HBox, right? Or something like that, or Magi because she beat Mango.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's always that one big win that gets people's attention, and I feel like I don't have that yet. So that's my big goal for when I next go to America.
Got a big win against top player.
Big win, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thing is, very sadly, in Smash World Tour, it was Professor Pro against Ice, you against Pipsqueak. How come?
Yeah, so none of those should have happened, I'm pretty sure. Or at least me versus Pipsqueak shouldn't have happened. There was just like a bracket malfunction on Smash GG.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at the very least, like the pools that were set up didn't have any European clashes, I don't think. So those pools were good to like display who, Europe versus America versus Japan versus, all of the countries, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was super cool.
It's sadly to see that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a life. This is a life. So yeah, Smash World Tour finished. You start the years 2022 with, I think, for objective to Smash World Tour 2022, right?
Yeah. So I mean, my big goals for this year are qualifying for Smash World Tour, winning European Major, and getting to #1 in the UK. They're like my 3 big goals, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, European Major I've technically done because of all the online stuff, but I want to win like in person at a LAN, because that's where I think it means the most. But we'll see, because there isn't really that many events happening in Europe right now.
Yeah,
I will admit. So yeah, it's mainly those other 2 of Smash World Tour and #1 UK.
How if you had to meet this young frenzy who saw Maky against Professor Pro in final in Breakdown, what words you will use if you can talk to you?
What advice did I give?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I would tell my former self to just stop playing Falco off the bat instead of messing around with other characters for 2 years. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Second, I would be like, learn to play neutral. instead of just being a tech skill bot, because I think that's also pretty important. Talk to Mackenzie, get some neutral tips. I think that would have helped. And third, I'd say, you're on the right track, and I'd have confidence that I can make it, because there was a lot of times where I sort of doubted myself over the years. But I think I'm finally at the point where I'm like, I've actually made it as a top player in Europe, and I can reach those like lofty goals that I have.
Yeah, it's a good advice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Sure.
So we arrive in the end. So in the end, what's happened? People can ask a question, all right, in the chat. And me, I got some question from some players. So I will start with this question. Frenzy, question number 1. How? So you people talk about your Punish game, and people talk about your Punish game is insane. How did you work this Punish game?
Okay, so like I said before, when I first started playing, like a lot of my practice was in 20XX. So I would always just like practice combos on the 20XX bot. Because there was a mode where you could set them to like random DI and you could practice at different percents and stuff. My thoughts were always like, if this combo can work on a 20XX bot, doing all this crazy SDI and slide off and all of that, then they're going to work on anyone, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the mentality I went with when I was practicing combos. It was always like, I want this combo to work on anyone. Like, I want it to be optimal, And the other thing I always tried to think about was, like, how do I take this hit as far as possible? Like, if I dropped a combo, I would always pause and be like, what could I have done here, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the final component to that was I've always loved watching combo videos. Like, that was a main source of my improvement back in the day, was just watching combo videos and, like, adding them to that little database in my head, right, of how I combo in this spot. So Punish Game across all my characters as well has always been, like, the big thing I've been good at. I think some people's brains just, like, work better for it as well. Like, I have quite a mathsy brain, whereas some people, they understand neutral a lot better, right? Whereas for me, Punish Game is a bit like an algorithm sometimes. Like, you've just got these set things you do, and they're really good, and this is the flowchart you follow, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting because in recent times, I've actually been straying away from that and going for more reads in my combos. Because, like, I don't think Falco's the character you want to do that with. At least not to the extent I did. He's not a Falcon where you can just tech chase forever or a Sheik or whatever. Like, adding in some reads is, like, sometimes the best thing you can do. Because, you get the right read and you can get a kill.
Yeah.
So, but that was definitely the steps I took to, like, get my Punish Game to where it is now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of 20XX,
20XX, and watching VODs,
and watching,
and asking questions.
Yeah. Question number 2. Can you give me your top 3 favorite players in the world?
Professor Pro.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
And myself.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
You gotta read for yourself.
Yeah. You put out the Mewtwo King.
Yeah, that guy. He took some cheesy games versus me, so he definitely can't be on that top 3.
Yeah. Question number 3. Okay. This is young players. I mean, middle players. A middle French player. All right.
Yep.
Who say, how I can translate, I won't improve very fast and very quickly, because I feel like I didn't improve like I want.
Yep.
And I become frustrating because that.
Yep.
What tips you can give me? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I get you. I think the biggest thing for improvement is always looking, like, at least in the short term, is always looking for the things that are the least effort and the highest reward. So, like, for example, if you're always, like, getting hit by the same move and it's coming up every single game you play against character. Like a big one I always get is, oh, I can't deal with like Fox full hop, right? Then I would be putting a lot of effort into how do I play around Fox full hop, because that's something that's like coming up a lot in the games. It's affecting the games a lot because you're getting sort of like opened up a lot for it. And it's also affecting you mentally, right? You're like, God damn, this Fox keeps full hopping and it's really annoying, right? So that's affecting you a lot. That's the thing you want to focus on rather than, oh, I should learn to triple shine because that might be useful in this one situation that comes up every 10 games, you know? So definitely, I think the biggest thing is looking for the things that come up the most in your games and have the most impact.
It's interesting, very interesting. Yeah, very true. Some last maybe few last question, okay, and then after I will let you go to the bed. Maybe I don't know what did you will do. So this question is interesting. How I can translate? If you didn't play Falco, who was your main?
That's an interesting one. So like the reasons I played Falco was because at the time there was no Falcos in Europe and I wanted to be the best Falco because I wanted to be like unique, you know? So it would probably be a character that didn't have much representation. So at the moment I actually think that's Moth because like obviously you've retired and you were, you know, probably the best Moth main, right? And so right now we've only really got like Midi and Abeav as like the top Moths. It definitely wouldn't be Fox because there's too many European Foxes. Yeah, maybe it could have been Sheik as well.
Okay.
But I've actually been playing a lot of Ganondorf recently. As like just because he's so different to Falco, right? Like it's the character with the most control versus the character with the least control, and I find that sort of difference like pretty interesting. But if I want to be the best, I'm not going to play Ganondorf, right? So
Ganondorf. But you didn't want to play like Lefen, practice a secondary for some matchup very complicated like Mars, you know.
No, I've pretty much always been like I'm just going to play only Falco.
Yeah, you trust your Falco at 100%.
Yeah, I just trust that like Falco's a good enough character that he can do all these matchups.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that was like my main reason for picking Falco is just that like that was the one character that like wasn't being represented at the time. So it's hard to say who I would pick. It would probably be like Sheik Moth or Falcon because they're all like my sort of characters. But yeah.
This question is very funny. If you have one opponent to play right here, right now, which player you will pick?
One opponent to pick?
Yeah, I mean one player to play. Right here, right now, you can pick any player in the world.
And that's like not to prove anything. That's just because I think it would be fun to play them. Like that's a weird one. I'd say probably one of the. No, I actually know. I know who this would be. I'd pick Armada.
Armada, okay.
Because I never got to play Armada in tournament, and I only ever played him once in friendlies.
Okay, wow.
And Armada was always that person that I was like, damn, I really want to play this guy. Because he was at the top, you know, he was the best.
Yeah.
And I never got to like play him at his peak. So I'd say Armada.
Okay. It makes sense. Clearly. Yeah. And the last question, if you are okay, if you
go. Keep going. I'm not asleep yet.
Yeah. You will play melee. I know you will play melee. The last question is, what is you top? It's maybe you if you don't want answer, you can answer, but if you don't, it's okay. What is your top 3 players of you don't want play, of you don't like to play?
Oh god, that I don't like to play against.
Yeah.
So Nicholas is definitely up there. The young one.
Oh my god, Nico. Oh my god, I'm totally...
That's my most hated matchup.
Oh my god, Nicholas.
Number 2's probably going to be an Ice Climbers player.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Probably, maybe like
Johnny Fight,
Nintendo or Batman Spam.
Because you play Nintendo in Smash to Meet, right?
Yeah, I played a load of the Ice Climbers and lost to them, and I'm just like, God damn it! Like, I always have a really good bracket, and then I run into an Ice Climbers, and I'm like, oh. But yeah, and then third one. I actually hate playing against Aiken. Like, I never want to run into him in bracket because we've played so much in like friendlies.
Yeah.
And I know he has all these really dumb reads on me. And I'm just like, I could just randomly lose to him and he would just like gloat about it for eternity. And it's just one of those people I never want to lose to.
Yeah. I'm probably, I'm totally understand and agree with you. Yeah, for sure. Yes. Okay. Okay. Me, I have a question. Last question.
Yeah.
What do you think about Smashbox?
Oh god. I don't want to cause a controversy and get cancelled and all that, but I think it definitely needs to be brought more in line with the GameCube controller, but I'm not sure how. I think there's definitely like, I will play somebody that goes like 0-2 in bracket, but they have perfect Smash DI on my pillar combos. And I think that's not okay.
It's not okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think like that's my rundown of it. Like I can't really comment on like, the fixing hand pain and, GameCube controller being better at some other stuff, but definitely like that's the most noticeable thing for me is like stuff that worked fine versus people on controller doesn't work versus people on box.
Yeah, clearly. It's two different worlds.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely changes how I play against some people because I'm like, okay, they're on a box, I'm just going to back air instead of down air.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And for my vision, I can clearly recognize a player who plays with a box, with the movement, with how they commit, how they take skill, how they recovery, how they
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I respect players like Pipsqueak, like Kinzo, etc., but there's buts, but something,
I don't really want to say.
But something, yeah. But Frenzy, thanks very much for your time, for all of that. Of course, 1 hour 40 is not enough for hear all your life in Melee, but we hear a lot of things, a lot of parts, and very interesting parts. So thanks very much for your time, Frenzy.
Yeah, thank you. It was really cool talking to you. I had a really good time doing it, and it's always nice to talk about some of my little stories from attending stuff. Hey. Yeah. Do you mind if I do a couple of shout outs just before we end this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the first one is obviously Reason Gaming, my sponsor at the moment.
Of course.
Helping me get to like American events, European events, helping with controllers, like all that stuff. So big shout outs to them. And then the second big one is just to my Metafy that I'm doing at the moment. Oh. So that's my coaching service. Where I'm trying to help people, even beginners, like just picked up a controller. Like I have a lot of different services on there, and I'm even offering like a free session where we sort of talk about the game and what you want out of it, and how I can help with that. So I'd really encourage people to check that out over on metafy.com or metafy.gg/@frenzy. And if anybody wants to chat about that, feel free to message me on Discord. But yeah, that I think that's all I have really. But But yeah, thanks again. It's always nice talking to you, Mackenzie. You always make me laugh with some of your Frenchisms. So it's good.
Right. Thanks very much, Frenzy. Thanks very much. And I hope we will see you in America very soon.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope for represent Europe.
Yep.
We have.
I should be at Gommel. Will be the next one.
Okay, nice, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thanks very much, Frenzy, and have a good night.
Yep.
And
bonne nuit.
Et bonne nuit. Merci, Frenzy. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.